Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play-to-earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterlands. And in today's video, I wanted to play a clip from a recent Twitch stream where we tackled a controversial topic that was in the news around cryptocurrencies, and we applied the discussion to Splinterlands. And the topic was, are cryptocurrencies or games, play-to-earn games like Splinterlands, who are on the blockchain and use tokens, are they Ponzi schemes, and are they bad for the consumer's health? We're going to hop into the discussion here. I think we had an objective discussion discussing both sides of the argument, and we came to a conclusion. And I would be interested to hear your comments in the video description below. Definitely leave those. Let's have a conversation, and let's roll the clip. And until next time, keep stacking those stats. One of the topics that came across my news feed the other day, I think it was like Friday, was this article talking about, so Jamie Dimon is the CEO of Chase, JPMorgan Chase, and basically shots were fired here basically against crypto, which is not surprising. He's not been a proponent of Bitcoin or crypto in general. Well, what Mr. Dimon here said is he likened crypto tokens to Ponzi schemes. And he did this in front of the US House Committee. This was on Wednesday, I guess, of last week. And basically he was quoted as saying he's a major skeptic on crypto tokens, which you call currency like Bitcoin. They are decentralized Ponzi schemes. And he pointed to examples of billions of dollars lost each year through crypto-related hacks and how cryptocurrencies are used in crimes such as ransomware payments, money laundering, and sex trafficking. And he says, and the notion that it is good for anybody is unbelievable. So this was an interesting, I guess, statement for me, because it's a very narrow, and I would say closed-minded view. Like, he's basically lumping all of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Splinterlands, everything, and basically saying it's all bad. There's nothing good. It's used for money laundering and ransomware, and it's horrible. And it's all Ponzi schemes. And for me, this just seems to be a little over the top. It seems like it's almost like he's like the railroad tycoon in the 1800s saying cars and, manufacturing is bad, right? So what I wanted to do is talk a little bit specifically about, how does this apply not only just to cryptocurrency, but this kind of perspective, how does it apply to Splinterlands? And I wanted to have two discussions, right? One is, could a game like Splinterlands be considered a decentralized Ponzi scheme? And then what's the alternative, the other side of the coin, is what are the benefits and what are the ways that Splinterlands specifically is not like a decentralized Ponzi scheme. Now, I think this is an interesting conversation because, well, we're in a point in the Splinterlands ecosystem where we just had a ton of revenue and volume of money coming into the ecosystem with a lot of virtual products being sold. And if we were to take our Splinterlands hat off, right, and just say, hey, if I look at this from a completely objective view, and, I'm new to the ecosystem and I'm new to Splinterlands, and I look around and what do I see? Is this something that I should be concerned with? Well, a couple things to note. We have GLS card packs being sold for a game probably in the next month. That isn't created yet. We had a pre-sale of 250,000 tower defense packs that were sold. That is a game that doesn't exist yet. We have, what else did we have? We had the Riftwatcher set, which we know is coming out, right? Which is going to come out on Tuesday. That was sold. We have the Rooney that was sold out as well. That's going to be coming out in basically a month. And then we have multiple proposals currently active in the game for reward pools to be opened up for game modes that don't exist. We have land rewards that are being requested for something that's probably 6 to 9 months off, right? That's not going to be released for 6 to 9 months. And again, we have rewards for tower defense game that's 6 months away. That's also looking to be paid out. So from an outside observer's perspective, if you just came into Splinterlands in the last week and you looked around and said, hey, why are people paying all this money for stuff that doesn't exist, for virtual products that aren't even created yet? Isn't that kind of the definition of Ponzi? Because from a Ponzi perspective, the whole, naming or the whole scheme kind of description comes from basically Mr. Ponzi, who basically was doing stamp arbitrage back in the day and never really selling or trading in any stamps. So it was basically a scheme where there was no product that investors were actually going to get access to in due time. They were just never going to see that money at the end of the day. And you could say, if you just looked around and were new to Splinterlands, that, hey, you've got land that's been on the books for 2 years and nothing's been delivered. You've got boss fights that are nowhere near completion, tower defense, GLS. All this stuff is virtual goods that is no promise to deliver. And I would just say that you could make the argument to say that that could be the case in a worst case scenario perspective. You could say, well, Splinterlands, the development team doesn't exist. They don't actually have employees, and they're not developing land, and they're not developing tower defense, and they're not developing GLS. But here's where I would say the other side of the coin is, and that is, yes, the Splinterlands ecosystem has been extending money for projects like land, for tower defense, for GLS, etc. But they're doing so knowing that we have weekly town halls with the development team. We talk to the developers, we talk to the partners at Warner Music, and we know that they've made arrangements with the MLSPA. We know that Aggie and Matt and Hardpoint, they're all doxxed. They're just not like they're some anonymous team out there that no one knows about. And I think the biggest thing to say why Splinterlands is not a Ponzi scheme like Jamie Dimon would insinuate here is that, well, the whole reason why the team is looking to deliver value to Splinterlands is because, well, the team has a vested interest in the Splinterlands SPS tokens, because many of them have large stakes of SPS that they've acquired with their own funds and money. And obviously, if SPS value and utility is increased over time through things like GLS, through tower defense, and through land, well, obviously that bodes well for all of the Splinterlands employees, including Agrode and Matt and Hardpoint and everyone else. So yes, while you could take the most pessimistic view and say that Splinterlands is just a day away from a rug pull and all that money you're never going to see again, and it's all going to be gone and evaporated. Yeah, I mean, you could probably say that, but when we check and revisit here, let's say in 3 to 6 months, I think the opposite would actually be true, and that we would see a lot of these products and developments that have been essentially kickstarted will be released, and we'll see essentially the fruits of our trust here being delivered by the team. So I think it's, you could certainly make arguments for and against, but I think if anyone has been around Splinterlands, which has been around, by the way, for roughly 4 years, that the company has a track record of delivering. And while there are a number of virtual products that are being sold that have yet to be delivered, I think the general consensus across the ecosystem is there is great faith that all of those will be delivered in time and on a development schedule that they transparently communicate on a weekly basis to the community. And also, we can talk a little bit about one of the arguments I hear a lot about is, Splinterlands is multi-level marketing, and that, if we don't bring in new players, the game will fail and everyone will lose money. And I would say that this is probably the case of any entertainment-based business when you think about it. If you think about the NBA or the NFL, if they did not place fans in the stands and they didn't have viewers of their games and their product and their teams, they wouldn't get marketing deals, they wouldn't be able to pay salaries, and they would go out of business if no one had an interest in, for example, the NFL as an example. Same thing could be said about, movies, which are entertainment. If people stop going to movie theaters and stop streaming and stop watching or consuming entertainment and movies, well, then they wouldn't be able to pay the actors, the film crews, all the translators, etc. And, movies would no longer be made in great quantities or wouldn't necessarily be a successful business opportunity. The same thing can be said about games, video games, which are obviously an entertainment-based product as well. If you have the World of Warcraft as a game, for example, and no one plays the game, well, then no one's paying the monthly subscriptions to keep the servers on, so eventually the servers would have to be shut off. So from that perspective, I don't think there's anything specifically unique about Splinterlands trying to bring in new players to the game because, well, I think any entertainment-based industry is looking to add new customers in the grand scheme of things. That's how entertainment businesses grow. It's all about bringing in new customers.